Breaking news that Georgia Tech's Geoff Collins has been terminated by the Jackets. This is not a surprise. I think that it's happening right now. Maybe is a touch surprising. According to the reporting from ESPN, the buyout for Geoff Collins is going to be 11.3 or really 11.4 million dollars. They're be saving about $4 million going waiting until January. But I just I don't see how there's anything left to do or talk about here. He's just not good, and it's not worked. And I just it's just a really challenging situation at Georgia Tech. Hey, listen, pick up DAWGSTRUCTION. All Tech fans, you can just skip through this part. 80 pages. We got the Jackets in here getting absolutely smoked by Georgia again, and so much of Georgia Tech is hey, listen, it's a great way to support us. 80 pages, hardcover. We'll get it out to you quick. Make sure you're picking that up today. So much of Georgia Tech's identity is that they are not Georgia, and right now that's really not a good thing. And there's a lot that has happened over the last 20 plus years where you know Tech has just disappeared. And this was the rivalry of my childhood, and you just can't take it seriously anymore. I mean, I'm going to go through this obviously with y'all, but they just don't matter in any way, and that's the problem. I've got two of my two first cousins of mine went to Georgia Tech. They are really big, Tech supporters, and they're very proud of their school. But this is embarrassing. And when you look at this century, you have two 10-win seasons in 20 plus years. They've won the league, they've won the division, they won it four times this century. They've probably got more division titles than Miami, but this is no longer the Chan Gailey era. I mean, I think Paul did fine. He was up and down and up and down. You just could never know when the Jackets could win or lose. But Geoff Collins has been the worst coach Georgia Tech has had since probably Bill Lewis. And to recap, Bill Lewis went 5-6, 5-6, and then 1-10. But at least Bill Lewis gave you George O'Leary. I think globally here, I would be really I think it I don't need to speak for Georgia Tech folks. I mean, I think they fully understand, and they're not going to take what I say seriously, which is whatever. I mean, but I would be overwhelmingly concerned about the direction of my athletic department, period. And this is not a new thing. I mean, Paul Hewitt was a bad situation for a long time, and Tech took too long to handle that. They have not really been relevant in basketball, frankly, on the national level since Bobby Crimmins, and that was my first year of basketball in college. I mean that's how long ago we're talking about. So it's just not good enough. And for the Georgia folks, what is the ramification of this? What happens if Deion Sanders comes in? What happens if Bronco Mendenhall comes in? What happens if John Tenuta, or I don't even know. But it's not about the coach at Tech right now. They need someone that's got bigger vision than just a coach. If this was about vision, Geoff Collins tried with marketing. I mean, he did the whole 404 thing, which is hilarious because Atlanta is not a tech town. He did, the Waffle House shtick, which just kind of looks stupid after a while, frankly. Um, you know, there is a lot to sell at Tech. There is, but I do think you have to understand what you are and sell to that. You're never they're never going to be Georgia. That's gone, half a century ago. Actually, longer than that. That decision was made uh, decades ago, and they will never be what Georgia is now. It won't happen. I'm it will not. I almost never say never, but Georgia Tech does not have the desire to win at the level that Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. That's not going to happen. Okay, that's not who they are. They don't want to be that. They want to be what they are, but they're right now a really bad version of what they are. The correct move here is to get someone in there with an innovative offensive mind, go to the spread, and just fling the ball around 100 times a game. Because in this state, with the talent that you have in Georgia, there's no way Georgia Tech should be uncompetitive in the ACC. That should not be the reality, and it is right now. I mean, they are not competitive in league play. I think they've won just oh boy lately. I'd have to kind of look. It's not been good. I mean, since let's just look at 2016. You know, you can say what you want about Paul Johnson. He at least put out some teams that would fight. Um, so they were 4-4 in the league in 16. They were 4-4 in the league in 17. They were 5-3 in 18. In 19, which is when switched over to Geoff Collins, 2-6. You know, then 3-6, and they have not won a game. No, they were 2-6 last year. I mean, so the bulk, they've only won 10 games under this guy. So the majority of them have come. I mean, nearly exclusively, all of the wins have come from in ACC play. Obviously, the COVID situation, they almost had to win league games that year, and they almost didn't. I mean, it's just Georgia Tech should not be Georgia. I get that. I think they get that. I'm pretty certain they do. They're not idiots, but they shouldn't be this. I mean, like, this is a disaster. This is right now the last. I'm just going to ramble off since 2015. And, in 14, it should be noted, they lost in the ACC championship game by 2 points to Florida State and went on to win the Orange Bowl. Now, Tech has got plenty of, shtick about Cumberland game and all that stuff, but winning the Orange Bowl is a big deal for anybody. And they did that, and not that far ago. But let's just go backwards from that game, from the 49-34 win over State. They've gone 3-9, 9-4, okay, 5-6, 7-6, 3-9, 3-7, 3-9, and I mean probably 1-11 or 2-10 or 3-9. I mean, it's been bad, and 2 winning seasons. It's just not okay. There's more talent in Atlanta than there is almost in anywhere else in the country. Okay? Just in terms of volume, skill, all of it. You could go from Tech, drive in a 15-minute circle. That doesn't even get you to the perimeter, okay, in most cases. And depending on the day, right? Let's just say you drive 10 miles. Just keep it even in the perimeter. I don't know that you could build your whole program inside the perimeter, but you could do an amazing job of getting kids from Cedar Grove, Southwest DeKalb, Doug, Mays, Grady, Lakeside, Clarkston, any of the full. I mean, Grady hasn't put anybody out in a while. Just city limits of Atlanta would get you city limits of Atlanta and everything that's inside the perimeter in DeKalb. That'd get you a long way to where you got to go. I mean, Cedar Grove is one of the best producers of talent in the state, and Tech is like, I don't know, maybe a 20-minute drive there, and there are no loyalties in Atlanta. So, I just there's a lot of problems at Tech. Number one is a losing mentality as it relates to athletics. Number two is a lack of imagination. Number three is a lack of execution. And Tech is in a position where their fan base is dying and is nearly dead. Um, there's not going to be sidewalk jacket fans. If you're from Rockdale County, you have no reason to like Georgia Tech. If you're from Fannin County, if you're from Macon County, there's just no reason. And there's not as many generational Georgia Tech fans um, as there were. And I think part of me, it's sad, frankly, because I think that when you think about uh, everything that when I was growing up and how passionate that rivalry was, and how Georgia basically views it. I mean, the Georgia fan base basically views it as a joke now. That's sad. I mean, that's one of the great traditions that Georgia has that has just it's not gone away, but it's just. And there's this great line from Georgia Tech's fight song. It says, he would tell you to hell. If I had a son, sir, I'd tell you what he'd do. He'd yell, to hell with Georgia like his daddy used to do. All those daddies are dead. They're gone. And their kids either went to Georgia or Emory or something. I mean, like, they're not there. And everything about Tech is that they are not Georgia, right? I mean, they for years made fun of Georgia academically. Well, guess who's right there in your rearview mirror now? They're yellow. The dogs are red. Georgia was more rural. The Jackets are urban. Tech is engineering and technology. Georgia is not that currently. It may be in the near future, or in the future. They're just everything about Tech is to hell with Georgia. And I mean, the truth is that Georgia doesn't think about Tech unless they lost the year before. Then it's the biggest game of the season. For Tech, that game is always the biggest game of the season. So it's a weird dynamic where the school that gets their ass whipped all the time looks down on the other school, you know? And it's just but at the end of the day, Geoff Collins is not the right person. This is way overdue, frankly. He should have been terminated a season ago. I know Tech has some real problems in their athletic department as it relates to budget, but that's going to get worse in terms of they don't even need to think about Georgia. Georgia is the last thing that the Jackets need to consider. This is about getting Georgia Tech right, whatever that is, figuring out what's the right move at basketball because Josh Pastner ain't it either. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. It's what it is. And you know, and competing in your league, which is not exactly filled with killers. Miami just lost to Middle Tennessee State, so this is overdue. I don't know what to do next. I mean, I've heard, Mendenhall, Dion's not taking this job. Why would he take the Georgia Tech job? For what? Okay. I mean, there's going to be plenty of stuff out there for Dion if he wants to go somewhere. I mean, I just it's not a great situation. You're going to have to get somebody essentially like Josh Heupel did at Tennessee to just come in and just like, okay, I'm just going to kind of like piece this together until we get it right. And I would change strategies completely. I would become extremely wide open on offense. I would go recruit every single high school in Georgia, period, because I would say, hey, Georgia ain't coming for you. You want to play close to home, you come play for the Jackets. That's what I would do. But Geoff Collins, I mean, I don't know the guy, but it doesn't seem like the strategy was that great. And if you're Georgia Tech, you can't exclusively concentrate on Atlanta because you're not even the big dog in your own city. But it's like it's a situational base, and then you just go around to rural Georgia. There's Tech people out there. There's Tech people out there, but you're gonna have to capitalize on them and win those fights. Get a kid or two in Miami or somewhere in Florida and Texas. But like this spreading out, I mean, there's got to be a strategy that makes sense. They have not competed in any real way that I can remember for a kid. And like Josh Dobbs, that's a guy that should have been at Tech. Okay. And in the future, Josh Dobbs is the type of guy that should go to Georgia Tech. Hendon Hooker, guys like this, they would be painfully difficult to deal with, and that's what Tech should do. But this is way overdue. And I mean, I will believe it when I see it that Georgia Tech's gotten their act figured out because I know better.